Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm here in Sage. I use she, they, any pronouns. And today, this is a cosplay of my character, Tasha Koroleva, who by the end of her campaign was a level 11 light cleric. She is a variant human, and everything went really good for her, I think. While doing this makeup, I was re-listening to the campaign because we had recorded it for fun reasons, so we could go back and re-listen to it if we really wanted to. And I was listening with a couple of my other party members and some people who had never heard it before. It was a really fun time, and there is this iconic scene that we quote at each other all the time. We have such specific memories of Tasha Koroleva yelling at an NPC, and I have these specific memories too. That simply didn't happen. It kind of happened. So the scene in particular is of a whole bunch of civilians dying as we were trying to get them out of a cave as it was caving in, and there was an NPC that was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you guys got out," and she was like, "People died in there," except it was a lot more tame than that, which I think is really funny. So I was actively re-listening to it while I was doing this makeup, and it was just such a fun experience for me. I will say this makeup didn't turn out exactly as I had wanted. You'll see a little bit later that the wig in particular is a lot darker than like my original concept of Tasha Koroleva. It's almost like a Black Widow wig. I think that's technically the vibe that comes off from it. While Tasha Koroleva has more of like a true orangey ginger color, which is fine. The shape of the curls as well. I didn't have a want to restyle the wig because I hadn't worn it before. I think I actually cut the lace in the video. I may have cut that part out, but like I had cut the lace for the first time while I was doing this makeup. Another thing that I'm really excited to go back and listen to, because we're going through the whole campaign and we're re-listening as like a fun bonding activity and things to put on in the background while we are doing other things, in this case while I was cosplaying, is there's this scene in, I believe it's like one of the final sessions that we had. It was a short campaign, probably about 6 to 8 sessions long. I don't know exactly how many. I think it was somewhere around there, where I used divine intervention for the first time and it worked, and everybody got out that I had wanted to get out of a really dangerous situation, which is simply, sometimes I have really good luck in D&D. I can't remember exactly what I rolled on my divine intervention, but I feel like it was really close to not working, because at that point in time we were still level 10, so I had to roll a 10 or less on a divine intervention roll, which is a D100. So it's only a 10% chance that it worked at all. Something that I find so special about Tasha Koroleva is that she was the first character that I felt like I really connected with and like got a little bit more comfortable stepping outside of my comfort zone when it comes to D&D. I had only been playing for probably about half a year at that point, if not less, honestly. I believe we started the campaign in like November-ish of 2022, and I started playing D&D in March of 2022. So with that in mind, I really wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I had probably played a cleric before in like a one-shot or something, but besides that, I hadn't really played a lot of clerics. I am now considered a monk main, which is, I tend to play monks over any other class, but I also play a lot of bards and clerics these days, which I think is really interesting to think about. I have been playing D&D for about 2 years now, going on 3 in 2025, and that is just an insane thought to me. In fact, as I'm recording this, a campaign that I had started that became a long campaign around the same time as what we call the Foe of Many Faces Returns, which is the game that Tasha Koroleva was from, is actually about to come to an end soon, and we're on like session 20 something of what originally was estimated to be an 8-session campaign at most, but we were all pretty cool with it going longer. We're about to hit the final combat this Wednesday, which is in 2 days, and it's just strange. Especially because looking back at the choices that I made with Tasha Koroleva and stepping out of my comfort zone, because I wanted her to be angry at the world, at the government, but not sure what she's supposed to do and searching for redemption. And to have a character that I had started playing around the same time as Tasha, who was, while not angry at the government, more angry at herself, and Tasha was too. And I just think finding those comparisons between my characters is really interesting, because for Tasha, her anger usually came out whenever I was struggling to figure out how things were going to continue. She yells at an NPC because she couldn't get a read on him earlier, and now he's smiling in her face when there are people dead in a cavern next door. And then later on, she yells at a guy because she feels so incredibly guilty, and she is just looking for a second chance for her and her party members. And this game is just one that I love so deeply. And to briefly circle back around to the makeup, this is one of my favorite parts of the picker that I made of her, which is actually that there's meant to be like sun rays coming off of her eyes. I don't do a lot of graphic liner. I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to go about doing this, but I had some graphic liners that I had gotten for Christmas probably about a year ago now. And I was trying to get the sun rays to like be visible, but I am very pale. The colors I was using, they would dry down a little bit thinner and a little bit thinner every single time. So they didn't read as well on camera, but in person, they were really fun for me. Now we can circle back away from the makeup. Tasha is such a dear character to me because she was the first one I was really like obsessed with. I full on drew, it's not exactly fan art. I drew art of her because I was so enamored with her as a character, as a concept, and I had the best time playing her. When looking at that campaign, it's wild to me that we had like 3 sessions because we were scheduling on a every session basis. So like instead of having a specific day each week that we would play, we would skip around in the days and be like, oh, people are free this day, so we're gonna do it now, which meant that we were going to be playing sessions sometimes very close together, and that's what happened with the last 3-ish sessions of the Foe of Many Faces Returns. I remember very distinctly that in our final combat session that my mom actually needed me to go pick her up from work in the middle of D&D because our truck wouldn't start. So I had been like, my mom's like 5 minutes away. She works like 5 minutes away from where we live. I will move my Discord over to my phone and I'm gonna go pick her up and I'll be back soon, I promise. Hopefully I'll be back by my turn again, and I'm so sorry for the inconvenience, because I believe we've had issues with our truck before, but it was just like, on top of the final combat session being like, so much stress, I believe I had just summoned a Celestial, which was, Tasha was quite frankly one of the highest level characters I had played at that point, especially spellcasters. Because aside from her, I was also playing at that time the character that's from a campaign that we're going to be ending soon, Ari Lightdust. I actually cosplayed her as well, but I didn't record a whole video on it. Maybe I'll cosplay her again. Was a monk ranger, so not really focused on the spellcasting of it all. So having those big spells, and I'm a person that's terrified of summons. I don't like to have to control another token on a screen, and I don't like to... And at that point, it had only been a few months since I had started playing D&D, so I was especially nervous about doing summonables, and I didn't know, should I have tokens already made? I didn't know what was going to happen, and everything was kind of bad. I don't think anybody went down in that combat, or if they did, our bard, Vincent Van Vermeer the 29th, my beloved, and Tasha were doing a really good job of keeping people up, because though Tasha was a light cleric, she of course was still a cleric. And it was just such an experience. I have such fond memories of this campaign. It's really wild to think that it has already been like a year or more since we last played these characters. And we've left it open because they were already an established party at the beginning of that campaign who had gone through a downfall where a book had been written about them and their failures, very loosely veiled. And they had kind of fallen out of favor within the world. And I just think that's so neat. Maybe one day we will come back to these characters, and maybe at some point it will be a happier Tasha. I'm getting ready to run out of time to talk about this character that I love so dearly. She truly changed the way that I play D&D, and finding the divide between who I am as a player and who I am as a character was something that was really important about her as a playable character in D&D, and I love her so much. So, with that in mind, I'm going to leave you with the last minute or so of Tasha Koroleva as I am finishing up my makeup. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you guys in the next video. And I hope you like these kind of videos. Maybe I'll cosplay more of my characters and just info dump at you about them. I think that would be fun.